Okay, so there's a lot of things going on in this assignment. There's a lot of things we have to draw together. So I guess the first question would be, how do we incorporate all the elements of the question together to form a good concept?
So there are basically three things in particular that we need to consider. One is the human experience, and as we see up here, there's a whole range of different human experiences that we can draw on in relation to our related text. The second component that we need to think about is how we use landscape in a symbolic way. And finally, the last aspect of the question is how do we see the world differently as a result? And if you see the red cotton that we've kind of linked between the human experience and the landscape, it's how are these drawn together to create a purpose within our film. So what does that mean to see the world differently?
So the purpose is to invite, according to the task, invite us to see the world differently. So the viewer, the audience, has to actually consider their assumptions perhaps that they've made, and we have to show a transformation within the persona perhaps, or within the video, from one perspective to another, and that's going to be quite an interesting process to show, to explore, and to think about how to do that.
I think a good video, it's only 1 minute, but it needs contrast. It needs light and dark, big and small, close and distant, wide shots and focused shots. Think about contrast in your video.
What should I consider in making my film?
So look, there's a lot of things that you need to consider when you're making your film. You only have 1 minute, so you really need to think carefully and make purposeful representational choices. So one thing that you might consider is number of characters. We would recommend just having one character through whose point of view the video is kind of shot, okay, or done, so that you don't overcomplicate it. You also probably want to think about how symbolism is created in a film. So you need to use landscape symbolically. That doesn't mean that you can just kind of chuck the landscape in there and expect it to speak for itself. Symbolism is created through the combination of the landscape with other elements of your filmmaking. So think about things like using contrasts and juxtapositions. It is about shifting our perspective and getting us to see the world differently. So you might think about inverting or flipping or reversing something, layering music, layering different sound effects or soundscapes, so that we're then positioned to see your landscape and read it in that symbolic way. The other thing you probably want to consider is making simple, clear, thoughtful choices. So again, you only have 1 minute. We would want you to think about choosing shots and sequences that have a powerful impact in a clear way. So think more conceptually rather than narrative driven. So concept over plot is what we would advise.